Hello out there. It's close to Easter weekend, and I have a question. Why am I not an atheist?
That's a darn good question. 'Cause room temperature and your IQ are the same number, probably. Let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here. Today we're looking at our old pal, Anti-Vanquishable. We already know he's not an atheist, but his reasons are a bit on the what are you thinking side. Have a look.
How can anyone not want there to be a God when there are so many beautiful people out there?
Given just how snarky the more popular gods can get about sexual thinking, I'd say that's the very last thing you want. Unless, of course, your point is that the only way you'll ever have a chance with one of those lovely ladies is a god's intervention. But either way, what you want has nothing to do with what is, and to proclaim otherwise is wishful thinking at best, self-delusion at worst.
Myself, I see beautiful ladies all the time, and I absolutely want there to be a God.
I want aliens to be visiting Earth, but that doesn't mean they really are abducting and probing people, and they're not going to give me a lift off of this miserable rock. Or at least, not because I want any of it. Whether a god is real or not, my desire to have one, or complete lack thereof, or even a fervent desire for one to not exist, will have no effect on whether there is or is not a god. I think I did once run across a bit of fiction where gods only existed as long as people believed in them, and were stronger when they had more belief on which to feed, hence why dogma was always so adamant about converting people and destroying the infidel. I forget the title, it was a long time ago. But unless we're living in that world, you cannot wish your God into existence. You can only investigate to see if the facts fit the faith. And if they don't, your religion is bullshit.
I want to have a chance at a relationship with each one of those pretty ladies out there. I want there to be a God that grants eternal life with a chance to have a relationship with each one of them. I can also say the same thing about food and drinks. I like to have a chance to enjoy each and every one of the foods that are out there. There are a lot of delicious foods out there, and I want to have a chance to enjoy all of them. And I can say that about a lot of things, and in fact, I can say that about everything.
Sounds to me like what you really want is spring break. Take a week or two in Fort Lauderdale. A fortnight, so to speak. And avail yourself of all the treats you can have without breaking the law. No God required.
I don't want it to ever end. Of course, for the time being, I can enjoy things as much as I can, but I just don't want it to ever end.
And this, I think, is a case of the believer who is too honest, because I think he's described what's at the heart of most religions, fear. Whether it's fear of death, fear of the unknown or unknowable, or fear that there are horrible people who won't ever be brought to justice, let alone be too scared of possible justice to behave themselves, religion is basically a teddy bear for those who never grew out of these fears. In many ways, I still consider myself a kid, if the kinds of games and fiction I prefer are any indication, when compared to self-described adults. But the faithful are still children, clinging to the skirts of their divine parent figure because they feel the need for protection. Saying, I don't want it to end, it's just a hop, skip, and jump away from, it's not fair.
Is it foolish to want to live forever, to never want it to end? Even with atheists, evolution created everything. So why can't evolution create eternal life?
Maybe there's a species out there whose equivalent of DNA doesn't have telomeres that slowly degrade, thus preventing aging and thus allowing eternal life as long as one stays healthy and intact. It seems unlikely, but that could exist. For all we know, scientists could be right around the corner in figuring out how to extend our lives quite a lot. But even so, this is kind of a silly question. Evolution depends upon natural selection in order to happen, and natural selection involves, wait for it, death, in order for the more fit to pass on their genes and the less fit to die before procreating. So asking why evolution cannot make us immortal is to fundamentally misunderstand how evolution functions. And why would you want to live forever anyway? You just know somebody's going to try to bring back disco music at some point. Do you really want to live through that?
But since evolution has not created eternal life, the only way to turn is towards a creator that already exists.
What we have here is someone who thinks he's so entitled to eternal life that reality must bend itself to fit his whim, because the possibility of permanent death is one he will not consider. In fact, he'd rather conjure up magical creator genies than suck it up and deal with the fact that, according to every bit of recordable data we have, when your brain dies, you die with it. I'm not saying that I want to die, far from it, but I also don't want to live in perpetual falsehood either, especially not when the instruction manuals for a lot of these falsehoods insist on some pretty unpleasant lifestyle limitations and some unacceptable commands, usually involving hurting other people for disagreeing with said manual's alleged author. And if that instruction manual is written by ignorant, bigoted savages, as they appear to be, and not gods, that's even further reason to ignore them. So don't go getting caught up in mythology. Find out what's true and then work with, through, or around it.
What can anyone say about atheism? What wise sayings has any atheist ever said other than their doubt of a higher power?
And this sounds rather like another case of someone treating atheism as a religion because it happens to address the topic of religion. But atheism is the absence of religion and not one unto itself. However, to ask what wise sayings have been said by atheists, there are plenty, just as there are wise sayings by people who don't play baseball, don't collect stamps, and have never flown an airplane. A wise saying coming from an atheist doesn't have to be about religion. There are plenty of other philosophies or ideas about life out there that have nothing at all to do with gods of any kind. So this attitude that wisdom has to come from religion sounds like, at best, a misunderstanding of what atheism is and what atheists are capable of. The only other possibilities are deliberate mischaracterization or religiously inspired prejudice against those without religion. Either way, however, this paradigm is incorrect and must be corrected.
At least with the Bible, there is one saying that agrees with atheism. In the Bible, it is written, "There is a time and place for everything," and that includes being an atheist. Now, atheism has never agreed with religion, and yet religion agrees with atheism, if there's a time and place for it.
Oh, really? Psalm 14:1. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that does good. Sounds to me like Christianity, at the very least, isn't exactly thrilled with unbelievers. Now, I can't speak for other atheists, but I actually don't mind if people want to be religious. I think it's really stupid and ignorant, but as long as they're not hurting anybody, especially those who aren't members of their religion, then honestly, I don't care. Do what you like. So to say that for atheists there's no place for religion, you're wrong.
Again, there are so many wonderful and beautiful things in this world that cannot be experienced in one lifetime, let alone 1,000 lifetimes. And since atheism will never grant me eternal life, I lean towards there being a God that already exists. If you want evidence, then I wish you well in finding it.
But goodness knows you're not going to go looking for it, right? 'Cause what if you don't find any? You might have to accept that there are things in this world you're going to miss out on, and there is nothing you can do about it. Instead of playing make-believe, how about you go get a science degree and see about looking into life extension drugs or technology? After all, isn't God supposed to help those who help themselves? At least what you'd be doing would be, real. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think. People not subscribing to BionicDance is one sign of the apocalypse. Save us all. Subscribe now.